this event, and my role is to support you and answer any questions that you might have throughout the event on the technical side. Yeah, this webinar is one of many services offered to teachers by Oxford University Press, and if you'd like to know a little bit more about us, you might like to read this. Fantastic. So thank you very much. Again, as I said, my name is Sinead and I will be your moderator for this event this evening with Gustavo Gonzalez live from Argentina. And it's lovely to see so many of you here. Great pleasure to have you all with us. We're currently at 300 participants. I imagine that number may well climb as we get into the event. So for the next few minutes, what I'd like to do is just take you through some of the features of this room, just to help you get the most out of this event. There are some people who are joining us for the first time. So just to help you get the most out of us, out of the event, here are a couple of tips and tricks. So where you see me now and where you'll be seeing Gustavo in a few minutes' time is the video window. One little tip, if at any point your Wi-Fi starts to go down, get a little bit weaker, look up into the right-hand corner of your screen. Currently, hopefully, you have 5 green bars, and I do hope they stay there for the whole event. But if for any reason they start to disappear or turn orange, then one thing that you can do is hover your mouse over where my face is now, and you'll see a little pause icon will appear in the bottom left-hand corner of the video window. You can pause the video stream that's coming in, which means you'll still get the audio, the voice, and you'll still be able to see the whiteboard slides. But if you turn off the video stream, it will just decrease the bandwidth and make some space to help you be able to get the audio and the slides. So that's one little tip. Yeah. Where you see this slide now and where you'll be seeing Gustavo's slides in a few minutes' time, that's the whiteboard or presentation window. So that's where you'll be paying most of your attention, I guess, during the event. I would ask you not to post any emails or any Facebook groups or WhatsApp groups in the chat window. It's just that we can't verify the security of any of them. So I would ask you please just not to post them. Personal emails also. This event will be recorded and it will be posted on YouTube. So if you post your email address, you're leaving yourself open to some security problems. Yeah. So I would ask you not to do it. Okay. Over on the right hand side, you'll see the chat window, and we'll get into the chat in a couple of minutes' time. But just for right now, a couple of more tools. If you look at the top of your screen, you'll see the meeting tab. Somebody's asking about certificates. Yeah, Lewis, if you bear with me, I will let you know about certificates. Yeah. Okay. So if you click on the meeting, you get the audio setup wizard. That is something that you can take yourself through if you're on a desktop or a laptop. That will help you if you're having any technical problems. Next door to that, you'll see the little green speaker icon. If for any reason you need to turn off the sound or adjust the sound, that's the place to go. Next door to that, you'll see the little guy with his hand up. If you click on the drop-down menu beside him, there are a number of tools there that you can explore at your own convenience. Okay, so just to have a look at the chat window in a little bit more detail, there is a drop-down menu in the top right-hand corner of the chat box. Things that you can do here, you can change the color of your font, the size of your font. You can chat privately with different people in the room if you'd like to do that. So please feel free to do that. One thing I think that increasing the text size, particularly I saw somebody say it was 1 a.m. Somebody who's with us from Pakistan said it's 1 a.m. So maybe you're a little tired. Maybe you've been working today and your eyes are a bit tired. So maybe an increased font size in the chat box would make your life a little easier this evening. Yeah, the chat box is a good place, obviously, for you to chat with each other. Also, if you have any technical problems, that's where you can communicate with me. Please don't message me directly. Obviously, if the numbers go up and they're currently just south of 400, I can't communicate with people individually, but if you post in the general chat box, I can help you there. Yeah. It's also a place to leave questions on methodology, on the content of the talk for Gustavo, and he'll do his very best to try and answer some of those questions at the end of the event. So if you have any questions, please do type them in there and I'll collect them. And if we have time at the end, Gustavo will answer them. Okay. Just to let you know, if you are logging in on a tablet or Android device or iPad, for example, your interface will look a little bit different. So you may need to look on the left or right just to see where different tools are. Yeah. If you have any questions at this point, please feel free to put them in the chat box now. I'll be popping over back in there in a minute once I introduce our speaker for this evening. So our speaker for this evening is Gustavo Gonzalez, live from Argentina, as I said, speaking on engaging and fun ideas for reading tasks and activities. It's my great pleasure to introduce him and to tell you that Gustavo is a teacher of English, an international teacher, educator and presenter, and he holds a postgraduate certificate in ELT, a diploma in education and new technologies, and a certificate in neurosciences for educators. He has delivered workshops all over Argentina, South, Central and North America, as well as Singapore, Spain and China. He's a freelance presenter and has presented for Oxford University Press, as he is this evening, for Trinity College London, and also for Buenos Aires Players, an educational theatre company. He is a teacher trainer on the Oxford Teachers Academy suite of courses, as well as a former vice president of the Argentine Federation of English Teachers Association. So with that, I will disappear. Gustavo, have a great session. Everybody enjoy.
Thank you, Sinead. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. How are you? Can you all hear me well? And can you all see me? Great. I'm delighted and thrilled to be sharing this presentation with you. I'm happily surprised how Oxford University Press and with the help of technology is making this possible, of having all of us teachers from all over the world sharing 1 hour of professional development. In this case, I'm going to be sharing my ideas on engaging and fun ideas for reading tasks and activities. And I will be touching a little bit on theory, but I will be asking for your participation and cooperation to do some of the tasks. I'll try to do this, to make this presentation as interactive as possible. And I hope you enjoy and have some fun and some ideas for you to adopt and adapt, yes, and put them into practice into your teaching, in your classes for your students. So guys, what I'm going to be doing here is in this webinar, I'm going to be reflecting upon the importance of reading and the choice or selection of exercises we assign students with. We're going to be having a quick look-see at 10 useful reading strategies. And we're going to have a practical part, hands-on, at having a go at some of these activities aligned with these strategies that you may want to try with your students. So I'm going to start by asking you to read the text you have on the screen. Fantastic. Are you able to understand the text? Were you able to read this text? Robert says, kind of readable. Right, fantastic. Most of you say yes. So what kind of reading strategies have you used? Have you put into practice to try to understand this text? Okay, it goes like this. What is reading? You may have been into into minds whether it was reading or writing. But then as you kept reading, contexts gave you the idea that this word was not writing but reading. So what is reading? Some see reading as the mastery of phonics. Some people may have confused this word with phonetics. So some of these words may have been a little bit more complicated than others. And that's a challenge. So some see reading as the mastery of phonics, others as a process of prediction. Some people may have just got the word production, but then again, context is essential in helping you understand the words in the text, whereby the reader uses background knowledge and knowledge of the language system to predict meaning. So basically, teachers, peers, colleagues, what have we done here? What have we done with this text? Yes, we have decoded the text. We use this technique, which is decoding. But let me see if you agree with me. Decoding is not reading. Decoding for me is essential, is extremely important in reading. But when we talk about reading, I think that in order to really come to terms with the idea of reading, there has to be comprehension, understanding, connection with the texts. Yeah. So remember this: decoding is not reading per se. Decoding is essential, but we need to go deeper into finding meaning in the texts. So students may be able to decode or read the words in a book, right? But if they don't have the knowledge of the subject or some experience to be able to connect to what they read, they will not be able to understand the texts. And that's what I will be trying to explore, right, during this this webinar. So let's start with a joke. Look at this teacher telling the student, it's called reading. It's how people install new software into their brains. Yeah, it's a fun touch of humor, but I think it's so important because I think that reading, it's a skill that everybody, teachers, everybody should excel at. Yeah, reading is essential. Reading, we read to agree, to disagree, to negotiate meaning, to discuss ideas, to comprehend, to understand. Basically, guys, I think that we use reading to understand, to savor life. So for me, reading is an invitation to savor, to enjoy life. That's why, I don't know if you have read the article that was published on the Oxford University Press ELT global blog to accompany this webinar. If not, Sinead will be able to post the link in case you want to read it. But I think that reading is a skill for life. And I think it's very important that we help our students develop this skill effectively. So, have a look at this picture here, this heart-shaped picture with a lot of words inside. Yeah, I'm sharing this picture with a shape of a heart because I hope you do too. But I have my heart set on reading, and when you put your heart to doing something, it's very likely that you are going to succeed in doing it, right? But sometimes, teachers, reading goes unnoticed. And what do I mean by this? I'm going to ask you to start with the first practical activity, and I'm going to select 5 words from this heart-shaped word cloud. I would like you to identify or select 5 words that resonate with you and your relationship with reading. Yeah, have some 30 seconds to select 5 words that resonate with you and your relationship with reading. I can see curiosity, joy, experience, pleasure, fun, experience, knowledge, wow, literacy. Well, I don't know how many teachers are participating of this webinar, but everybody's coming up with 5 different options. And I think it would be, honestly, very, very unfair for me to tell you, no, that's wrong, because your contributions don't match my 5 words. And what I'm trying to show you here, teachers, is that there are many viewpoints from which to interpret a text, right? And here, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help you feel comfortable, confident that you can make a contribution to the webinar without being afraid of being corrected by the teacher, in this case me, yes? And I'm opening the door to plurality of interpretations. For me, this is very important. And this is something that I always recommend teachers they should do, we should do, that when you're brainstorming, usually at the beginning of a lesson, there are no right or wrong answers, but valid answers. It's extremely important that we validate every student contribution. I mean, at this point of the class, I don't care if the answer is right or wrong. There will be time for correction at some points during my class, but not now. Because what I'm doing here, I'm scaffolding self-confidence and self-esteem so that everybody here can feel comfortable about making a contribution, again, without being afraid of making mistakes. So remember to validate every student's contribution, because in my class, everybody has the right to participate, right? Now, going back to the heart-shaped cloud. Did you like that format? Great. I love working with word clouds to predict, to work on pre-reading activities to predict what any given text is going to be about, right? So this is something that you can create with the use of technology. I created a heart myself using one of these 6 different web pages I'm sharing with you, and I hope you can explore. They're all for free, so you don't have to pay anything. You only need your email account to access, and then you can create any word cloud. I don't know if you have noticed or you have realized that in order to read the 5 words that I asked you to select from the heart, you had to read. That was not a reading activity, but you had to read in order to accomplish the task. And that's what I meant by when I said that sometimes reading goes unnoticed. Reading is everywhere. That's why I insist on the importance of helping students develop this skill to the fullest, right? And here, this idea of getting the students to become familiar with the text they are about to read through a visually engaging prompt, as it is a word cloud, is very effective. I don't know if you have realized that there are some words that have a bigger size. Yes, there is a reason for that. The more times the words appear in the original text, the one that you are going to type in order to create the word cloud, the bigger the size of the word will be in the word cloud. This will be great for the students to have access to a visual prompt that will tell them, hey, these are the key words or the important words in the text. So around these key words, they can predict what the text is going to be about. Yeah, the key words, the ones that appear more times in the original text. And you know what sometimes I usually do? I love working with songs. And so I type the lyrics of the song in one of these sites, I create a word cloud, yeah, and I present the students with a word cloud, and I tell them, okay, what do you think the song we are going to listen to today is going to be about? So again, they start making predictions, yeah, to do a listening comprehension. But of course, they are reading words. So again, reading is everywhere, So I hope you have some time during this lockdown period of our lives to explore these 6 web pages. Wordle is one of the most popular ones, but it doesn't work with Google Chrome. So you need to use Internet Explorer or other browsers. The other five, the five that I'm sharing with you, can be used in any browser that you use. So give it a go, give it a try, because I think it's going to be really engaging. And I strongly believe in this idea of using material or resources which are visually engaging so that we teachers can make them linguistically exploitable. We can do that. We are teachers. We are prepared to do that, right? So many times I think that students are presented with reading tasks that only cater for knowledge of syntax or how the language works. And this, honestly, this pushes the students to copy-paste the answers. But they have no idea what the text is about. You ask them about comprehension, and they have no idea because they just copy-paste, copy-paste, copy-paste. So I think that we need to start reconsidering the kind of questions we make, because some questions stay there in the shallowness of true or false, I don't know, yes, no questions, but they don't invite the students to go deeper into finding meaning. Yes, and that's the point that I'm trying to make. I think that we need to go deeper, yes, and select activities that will engage the students and will want them to explore the text. So I'm going to give you a text, teachers, and I'm going to show you, yeah, what I'm going to try to make my point clear. I'm going to give you a very short text, and you will have 4 questions for you to answer. Let's imagine that each question is worth 2.5 points, and let's see if you can get a 10 out of these reading texts. Are you ready? Go, let's go. Wow, hold it, hold it, hold it. Is this the format that you were expecting to find for a reading comprehension exercise? Oh, you were expecting a text, not a QR code. And this is something that I do with my students. I try to adapt the material to make it fit their needs, their human needs, because they use QR codes everywhere. And have you seen QR codes in real life? They are everywhere, right? By the way, do you know what QR stands for? Yes, quick response. That is QR, quick response. And basically what you need to do is you need your cell phone and you download a QR code reader app for free. You don't have to pay. And you scan the QR code and you will have the texts on the screen of your cell phone. And let's be honest, most of my students who are teenagers and adults are stuck to screens all the time. Have you heard the word screenager? Yes, screenager is a word that appeared in the Oxford Dictionary in the 80s, approximately. And it's a portmanteau. It's a combination of 2 words, teenager and screens and teenagers. And they are, attached to screens all the time. So my point is this: why not make them read from the screen instead of from a piece of paper? So I don't know, this has to do also with school policies, teachers. There are many schools that do not allow the use of cell phones in class, right? But, and this is my humble opinion, once again, I think that the cell phone in a very short time will become one more learning and teaching tool, as it is the course book, as it is the dictionary, as it is the interactive whiteboard and stuff like that, right? So if you have one of the state-of-the-art smartphones, you can use the cell phone camera just to scan the QR code. But the idea is that you teachers, you can create your own material, your own QR codes, if you access one of these 4 web pages that I am sharing with you on the screen. These are, again, some websites that are just completely free of charge. And the only thing that we need to do is to type. We may not be, wow, a genius in technology, yeah? But the thing is that if you know what technology does, you can assign and design tasks, right, to work with technology. I remember some teachers here in Argentina that I know that they have worked with QR codes with the little ones working on a scavenger hunts. So they created QR codes with all the clues and the hints, yeah, to follow. So they were working on reading activities with the cell phones, and it was a lot of fun. Exactly, Maya, we can play with it. So I hope you can explore some of these web pages. Of course, you will have access to the PowerPoint presentation, to the slide deck, and then you will have access to a recording of the session in case you're going to go back to some of the concepts we're going to be sharing and discussing today. I hope you find this idea of word clouds and QR codes interesting, fun, and relevant to our students' reality. In case you don't have a cell phone, just to scan this QR code, although some people have already done it, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna go the old school, yeah, and I'm gonna show you the text. This is the text I am presenting you with, teachers. The grimy growlers wrangled in the Granchy gag. Right? Question number 1. This is the whole text here. That's the whole text. So, the grimy growlers wrangle in the Granchy gag. Let's see if you pass this test. Let's see. Show me. Question number 1. What kind of growlers were they? Fantastic, fantastic. Grimy. Question number 2. What did the growlers do? What did the growlers do? Wow, you're so good. They grangled. Fantastic. So they were grimy growlers and they grangled. Question number 3. Where? Where did they do it? Where did they grangle? Fantastic. In the gag, in the Ganchy gag. And that takes me to the next question. In what kind of gag did they grangle? Fantastic. I can see your answers. Great. In the Granchy gag. Hats off to you guys. Congratulations. You passed the test. You got a 10. You got the best score. What is the text about? Would you like to be a growler? Would you like to grangle? Guys, everybody passed the tests and you have no idea what the text is about. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that this reading comprehension activity just focus on your understanding, on your knowledge of syntax and how the language works. Yeah? And the thing is that there is no meaning here. So students get bored to death when they don't find meaning in what they do. Of course, yes, all of these words are made up, Marcel. Yes, they are made up. They don't exist in real life. And this, what I use it just to show you how to make you realize, how to have a first-hand look at what happens sometimes with the kind of questions students are exposed to for reading comprehension activities, right? So the point is this, that here there is no meaning. And of course, if we're going to talk about reading, I need to resort to Benjamin Bloom's taxonomy of learning objectives and outcomes. And Benjamin Bloom concluded that 95% of test questions focus on the lowest level of his taxonomy, which is the recall of information, right? So let me show you a little bit, let me just briefly take you back to Bloom's taxonomy, and based on his research, remember what I said before, right, is the 95% of texts focus on the lowest level of the taxonomy, which is, yeah, remembering, the recalling of information. And sometimes, you know, what happens is that, I don't know, that we have been testing how much students can remember instead of how much they can relate to the text, how much they can get from a text. So I think that we need to go deeper into this idea of analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Yes, because students are not used to inferring meaning. When you ask them to infer meaning, and they are used to copying and pasting, they come up with like, teacher, I can't find the answer in the text. Of course, they don't know how to infer, because they don't know how to read critically. They don't know how to evaluate, how to create meaning out of a given text. And I think this is extremely important because, again, reading is a skill for life. And let me quote Stephanie Harvey and Anne Goodvis, who said that true comprehension, teachers, goes beyond the literal understanding of a text and involves the reader's interaction with the text. If students are to become thoughtful, insightful readers, they must extend their thinking beyond a superficial understanding of a text. That's what we did with this kind of exercise with made-up words, right? It was just a very superficial understanding of a text based on our knowledge of syntax and how language works. Nothing else than that. So, what is important here? That we need to come up to the idea that reading strategies are essential to help the students develop this reading skill. And researchers such as Pearson, Keane, Harvey, Goodvis, Robb, and others have summarized some of these strategies that proficient readers should be able to manage quite effectively in order to construct meaning from a text. And I was mentioning about this idea of going beyond the text, yes? And the idea is that, for me, constructing meaning is not enough. So we need also to construct, deconstruct, and reconstruct meaning. And here I'm going to be just mentioning Rob Pope on his idea of textual intervention, the importance of how the students intervene in texts. Yeah, for example, the creation of information gaps and adding content, right, to get them to construct, deconstruct, and reconstruct meaning. So now I'm going to be sharing with you some fun ideas, some ideas that can be put to practice for reading as reading strategies, and of course, adding an element of fun. This is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. Here we have a list of 10 strategies I have selected to share with you. The first one is to connect to the text. The second, generate questions. Number 3, predict and prove. Number 4, summarize and synthesize. Number 5, decide what's important. Decide what's important. Number 6, sense and feel the text. And for me, this is really important. I read somebody typing on the chat box, I think it's Paola, yes, Paola Moret, yes, the importance of emotional response. And I'm going to be addressing this issue in a few more slides. The importance of helping the students relate emotionally to the text. Number 7, practice PQ4R or SQ3R, and I'm going to explain that in a while. Number 8, make inferences, then draw conclusions. Number 9, check your understanding. And number 10, use graphic organizers. I'm going to explain number 7 in a few more slides. Yes, so I can go in order, right? So, are we doing well so far? Great, fantastic, great. So, I won't have enough time, teachers, to go over the 10 strategies, but I'm going to be tapping on some of them. And I'm going to start with number 1, connecting to the text. What do you think I mean, or we teachers mean, by saying connect to the texts? I think it's very important that we have this idea of connecting to the text from 3 different angles. Yes, Adriana, I like that one. Yes, one of these is the connection between the text and self, is the personalization of the task, the importance of making the students relate to the text from a personal perspective. It's very, very important that they can see uh, the usefulness of the text, uh, taking into account their own reality. But not only to their own selves, also text to texts. Even in their own language, you can ask them to compare and contrast different texts. And in this way, by personalizing the text and asking them to compare and contrast, you are involving the students. I read something that somebody wrote involving your students, Juan Tovar. Yes, it's very important. I strongly believe, teachers, if there is no involvement, there is no commitment. No involvement, no commitment. And as teachers, we have the obligation to involve everyone in our classes to make them find their own commitment to their own learning. Right. So text to self, text to text, and there's one more which is missing, which is text to words. And I think it's very important because all of this will activate, as many of you are just typing here, prior knowledge, activating schemata, yes, and connecting to real life. This webinar that we are sharing is a clear example of globalization. We live in a global world, and everybody is just participating here from different parts of the country at different times. Some of you may be going to bed after this, some of you may be having lunch afterwards, then you will keep enjoying the rest of the day. Yes, but we are globally connected. So globalization is a very common word nowadays. And I'm sure, or pretty sure, you may have heard the word glocalization. Have you heard the word glocalization lately? Yes. Some people have, some people haven't. Glocalization is a portmanteau. It's a combination of two words. Can you guess which these two words are? Glocalization. Somebody heard from me, yeah. Thank you. Exactly. Local and global. And for me, this is very important. From our locality, we need to prepare our students to face the global world they are part of. Yeah, they will be reading texts from all over the world, but I think it's extremely important that they value and they feel identified with their cultural identity, with their bilingual identity. I'm not a native speaker of English. Yes, I am an Argentinian speaker of English. And as you can tell, I don't sound British, I don't sound American. I sound Argentinian. And you know what? This is me, this is who I am. And I'm very proud to have this Argentinian accent, yeah, because this is me. And I want to transmit and transfer that confidence to our students. So as long as you are clear and they can understand the message you are trying to convey, right? This is very important for me. And let's students push them to embrace their bilingual identity, yeah, and give them the possibility to understand any texts from any part of the world. And I think that this is really, really important. This question of cross-cultural understanding. In order to survive in this global world we are living in, we need to develop our cross-cultural understanding of the world. Okay? So connect to the text is one of the strategies that I am just suggesting you should use with your students. Of course, many of us teachers already use some of these strategies. They may sound familiar to all of you. Readers pay more attention when they relate to the text. Readers naturally bring their prior knowledge, as you have already mentioned, and experience to reading, but they will comprehend better when they think about the connections they make between the text, their lives, and the larger world. And again, I'm quoting Harvey Goodwin. Is the importance of the personalization of the text, yes, and getting them into this cultural background they are part of as well. The other strategy that I would like to discuss was to generate questions, because questioning is a strategy that keeps readers engaged. When readers ask questions, it's because they are curious, they want to know. And if they want to know something, they will do anything to find the answer. Yes? Think of your students. This webinar is intended to teenagers and adults, but maybe many ideas can be adopted and adapted to elementary, to children, very young learners. The thing is that when you're curious, you want to know. And when they want to know something, they Google information. Yes. The point is that our students today, sometimes we teachers, we complain that students don't read. They don't read what we want them to read, but they spend a lot of time reading screens, yes, and Googling information, yes, and well, we need to help them develop the critical thinking skills about what they find online, which is very important, very, very important. So the thing is that students today, they learn anytime, anywhere, from anyone. So we teachers, we need to make the content relevant, meaningful, and fun, because the content itself can be found somewhere else online. Yes. So this is our creative thinking skill put into the service of designing activities that will engage students meaningfully. And asking questions is at the heart of thoughtful reading, right? Okay, I've been speaking and talking for a long time, so I think if you are into neurosciences, you will agree a little bit with me on the importance of brain breaks. Every 15-20 minutes, I usually have a brain break, which would be kind of a kinesthetic activity, a visual activity, or maybe a reading activity, as in this case, yeah, which is a lateral thinking puzzle. So let's see if you can find the answer to this problem I'm going to be posing for you right now. Personalization of the task. So you, teachers, you are driving down the road in your car on a wild, stormy night. When you pass by a bus stop and you see 3 people standing there, waiting for the bus. Number 1, an old lady who looks like she's about to die. Number 2, an old friend who once saved your life. And number 3, the perfect partner you have always been dreaming about. Knowing that there can only be one passenger in your car, whom would you choose? Have a little thought and let's see your answers. Wow, everybody's contributing with number 1, number 2, number 3. If I were correcting this exercise with a teacher's book, I would have only one possible right answer. But here, with lateral thinking puzzles, I'm pushing you to think out of the box, and I'm opening the door to plurality of interpretations. So again, your answers will not be right or wrong. They will be valid answers. Valid answers. Exactly. There are no correct answers. Yeah? Because in order to come up with your answer, you resorted to your background knowledge, to your culture, to your knowledge of the world, and to your values also, to come up with this idea. Okay, let's see. Somebody says, an old lady. Let me share something with you. Some of my teenager students told me, I remember this very vividly. Teacher, the old lady, she has lived long enough. So I would choose the perfect partner because your friend will understand. That was one of the answers I got. And then I remember a girl telling me, teacher, I would like to choose the old lady, but I was thinking, what would happen if she dies on the way to the hospital? Won't I have legal problems? And I love that answer because that was critical thinking. That was going beyond the texts. Yeah. So I'm going to share the original answer to this puzzle, which doesn't mean that it's better than yours. It's just a valid answer. The original answer of this lateral thinking puzzle is that you give the car keys to your friend. Yes, Mohammed, exactly. Yes, your friend drives the old lady to the hospital, and you stay with the perfect partner you have always been dreaming about. Yeah? And so you see, with less than 2 or 3 minutes, what we did here was I selected a puzzle from internet. You can find many lateral thinking puzzles online, very short text that will push the students to do critical thinking and creative thinking, right? Let's have one more, because I want to show you something else. Acting on an anonymous phone call, the police raid a house to arrest a suspected murderer. They don't know what he looks like, but they know his name is John and that he is inside the house. The police bust in on a carpenter, a truck driver, mechanic, and a fireman, all playing poker. Without hesitation or communication of any kind, they immediately arrest the fireman. How do they know they've got their man? Gillian here says he has the name tag, John. Valid answer, valid answer. But if I go back to the text says without communication of any kind. And that would be kind of visual communication, but they can see the name tag here. So it's a valid answer, but still you're not thinking quite critically or quite creatively. Some people are getting the answer right. Yes, the fireman was the only man in the room. The fireman was the only man in the room. And this may be a little bit surprising, but let's be honest. Nowhere in the text does it say that the other are women. But when you read carpenter, truck driver, mechanic, and fireman playing poker, yes, our stereotypes came into play and everybody thought that they were men, right? If I had written firefighter, that would have been a different story. But the word fireman conveys a kind of like gender. There's gender there, not with firefighter. Yeah, and this is to show you how we are culturally biased. Yeah, culturally biased to interpret texts based on our knowledge and our own culture. Yeah, so this was to illustrate the importance of asking the students to explore the text and to make them think outside the box, right? So we got our brain break, which I strongly recommend having in your classes between after 15 or 20 minutes, so that the brain gets more oxygen to keep paying attention for 15 minutes more. That way you will have the students on their toes all the time, engaged all the time. Okay, one of the strategies was practice PQ4R or SQ3R, and these are very old. Well, they date back to the 70s, and they are two active reading strategies developed by Thomas E. L. and Robinson H.A. in 1972. The P teachers stands for preview. The importance of activating prior knowledge in a preview moment by asking the students to read the title, to read maybe the first paragraph, the opening paragraph, and the closing paragraph, to see if they can make a prediction of what the text is going to be about. Yeah, to make predictions or I don't know, connect to the text by previewing it. And then, totally essential, questions. The importance of asking questions, but not just simple questions. Questions whose answers are unknown to the rest, big questions where, I mean, they would want to get the answer. And how are they going to get the answer? By reading, reflecting, reciting, and by reciting, I don't mean reciting a poem by heart, right? But like negotiating meaning, talking with their classmates about the text, and then, of course, reviewing with the whole class. And it's very similar to the SQ3R, which is a little bit shorter, and instead of the P, you have the S, which is survey. Explore the topic. What do you know about this topic? Yes? And so they bring in their prior knowledge. Okay. And then you have question, read, recite, and review. And these are some strategies that I recommend using. I'm going to go, and then I just realized I have 10 minutes left. So I'm going to just share with you this graphic organizer, another strategy that I think is fantastic, and I guess everybody uses, which is a KWL chart. What do you know for the first column about this topic? What you want to know, the point of making questions, and then at the end, yes, what have you learned? The possibility to assess their own learning of these reading texts they have just gone through. And the one that I said that for me was very important was sensing and feeling the text. And this is going to be my last activity to share with you. The importance of allowing students to respond emotionally to the texts, not just asking for the right answer. And here I need to resort to Mario Rinvolucri, who makes this point very clearly in one of the IATEFL issues voices, who says that when you are working on reading comprehension activities, you can ask questions like, what kind of pictures did you have in your mind as you read? Did you become any of the characters? How did you feel about what you read? How did you feel about what you read? Yes. So I hope that when you finish this seminar, this webinar, you have more questions than answers that have somehow ignited this idea of I want some more, and you do your own research on more strategies that are really useful for reading tasks. So making reading collaborative, meaningful, and fun for me is essential, and that's what I'm going to be sharing with you. Allow students to answer questions collaboratively, together. Assign fun activities. Remember how important it is to keep the students engaged, motivated. And something that I would like to share with you is 55 word stories plus music to create the mood of a story. I love working with 55 word stories that you can find online, yes, or there are even books, yeah, published and printed. Yeah, I took this particular story from one called The World's Shortest Short Stories. And I'm going to show you the importance of reading aloud. Sometimes we ask students to read aloud, yeah, and they get bored because it's like drilling, but with a twist, they may find it interesting and they will have some fun. So I'm going to share this story with you, and the story is called Headed for Trouble by Dick Skin. And the story goes like this. The scantily clad hitchhiker knew she was in trouble the moment she stepped into the car. The driver gazed disapprovingly at her costume. Looking for some fun? No, I'm just going to the beach. Think so? Well, I've got other plans for you, sweetie, and they don't include beaches. Just to make sure that you understand all the words, let me see if I can visually scaffold your understanding of the text. Here you can clearly see what I mean by scantily clad hitchhiker. But this may be a little bit rude in certain cultures. Again, the importance of culture in addressing the text. So guys, what I'm going to ask you to do now is to read the story. Yes, I'm going to play a song, a background song, to create the mood for the story. Let's have a go. Can you read on your own? Great. Getting scary, Anna says. What kind of story have you just read? Scary? Kind of horror story? Farok, thank you very much for that. That's very important when I was talking about the importance of culture, how offensive this picture may be depending on the culture you are part of, the country you are from. Thank you very much for bringing this up, Farok. Thank you very much. It's a scary story, and I don't know if you realize that as you were reading, your pace was slow, and even your voice was making a kind of a creepy sound. Okay, so let me ask you, in fact, to read it again with this second song. Well, some of you are reading adventure. Fantastic. It's a kind of adventure. So you went from a creepy story, but now it's an action or adventure story. Guys, the story is the same. The story is the same. The story hasn't changed. Your understanding of the text, your interpreting the story is different based on the music I played. I love working with this when I am checking pronunciation, intonation, the rhythm that you're reading text, and then say, teacher, can I read? Can I read? They will be the ones wanting to do the text over and over again because music has made you change the mood of the story. And you can select many, many songs from movies, or if not, you can use the YouTube audio library, where you can find copyright-free pieces of music as the two songs I have shared with you. Yeah, it's the idea that somehow music is pushing you to feel the texts. You are emotionally connecting to the texts. Well, then the other thing that I want to share with you is making inferences and drawing conclusions. Now I'm going to check understanding. Yes, and I'm going to be honest. I am a little bit sick and tired of the true, false, or doesn't say. Yeah, it's a kind of mechanic task. Inferring for me is at the intersection of taking what is known, garnering clues from the texts, and thinking ahead to make a judgment, discern a theme, or speculate about what is to come. So instead of asking the students to say true or false or doesn't say, you know what I do? I ask them to react orally by saying, yeah, no way, or beats me. Oh yeah, no way, and beats me. Oh yeah, when it is true, no way, when it is false, and beats me when you don't know the answer, when the text doesn't say. So, let's see how well we go about this. Question number 1. It's a warm and pleasant day. Oh yeah. Maybe you can infer meaning because of the scantily clad hitchhiker. The answer is not in the text. It is in the text, but you have to infer meaning. It's not copy-paste. Question number 2. The hitchhiker didn't get in the car. No way. When it says, the scantily clad hitchhiker knew she was in trouble the moment she stepped into the car. No way. Number 3, the driver of the car is a man. Beats me. No idea exactly. There's no reference to the driver of the car being a man. Nowhere in the text does it say so. But yet, everybody thought that it was a man. How contexts and your prior knowledge pushed you to think, right, that the driver was a man. And the last one, there are more than 7 words I don't understand. This has nothing to do with the content of the text, but for me it's very important to add 1 or 2 statements for the student to assess their own understanding of the text. Yes, I'm just running really short of time, but this is the last part of the exercise. The punchline, the last sentence of the story is missing. So which one do you think the original ending is? You have the three possible answers here, and only one is the original ending. Exactly, Selvina. Number 2. The driver was her mom. The driver was her mom. Yeah, and here we did a lot of reading activities with a lot of critical thinking, creativity. Yes, but I made you think outside the box. So, teachers, although these strategies tend to be introduced independently, readers rarely use them in isolation when they are reading. These thoughts interact and intersect all the time to help readers make meaning and often occur simultaneously during reading. So good reading comprehension strategies are necessary not only for low-level readers, but for all readers. So it is our task to help students increase their reading comprehension skill, because this could be key to educational success or failure in life. So, why is reading important? I'm going to be quoting Glenn Davis very quickly. Reading is fundamental to functioning in today's society. Reading is a vital skill in finding a good job. Reading is important because it develops the mind. Reading is how we discover things. Reading develops the imagination and the creative side of people. Reading is fundamental in developing a good self-image. Only by reading can we be armed in this never-ending life and death struggle. And reading is important because words, spoken or written, are the building blocks of life. So, just to round it up with a quote, reading without reflecting is like eating without digesting. So reflect on what you have learned every time you finish a book. Reflect on what we have shared today in this webinar. Yes, take it further. And then the magic in reading is that it brings you through a journey as if you are dreaming while you are being awake. And I'm going to finish with a quote by Roald Dahl, who says that if you're going to get anywhere in life, you have to read a lot of books. That's why I insist that reading is a skill for life. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you have profited from this webinar. Yes, Sinead, sorry I took just two more minutes. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay, no problem, Gustavo. Thank you very much for the wonderful webinar. Clearly, lots of people enjoyed it and took so much from it. So thank you very much for that. Just to let you all know that there is a mailing that will be coming to you when you registered. You registered with your email address. And so to that email address will be sent a copy of the recording of this event. There will also be a copy of the slides, a request for your feedback, and also a link for future events. Yeah. Please do complete the feedback. We do obviously take it into account when we're setting up future events, so it will be lovely to have your feedback. And the email will be coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. Brenda asks which email. I don't know if you're asking me which email address or what email will be sent to you, but it's the email address that you used when you registered, and what will be coming in the email will be that content. Yeah, you will get a certificate, Teresa. As I said, a certificate of attendance will be in that. Yeah, lovely to see you all. Thank you very much, and have a good afternoon, evening, etc.
Thank you, and thanks also University Press, Sinead, for making this possible. Yes, for being this support to teachers all over the world. Thank you very much. Thank you all for investing your time in this webinar, teachers. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.